Hello, friends. Ooh, I'm vibrating. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com. Well, apparently Daniel Harding is going to Los Angeles to become their new music director. What? We say? Daniel who? Daniel Harding? You must be kidding. Harding, it's hard to know what to make of it. You know, Los Angeles has a history of making some interesting choices for music directors. Remember, they got Giulini, and everybody was saying, oh my goodness, what's he going to do in Los Angeles? And he did fabulously there. So I'm hoping that Harding does the same. Harding, whatever his name is. No, Harding. But, Harding is no Giulini. Let's put it that way. And I went back and looked at his very spotty record on recordings, his discography, which there's a really pretty healthy sampling at ClassicsToday.com. And, you can take a look and see what his strengths and weaknesses were. Like everybody, he's tried to get into the Mahler thing, and he did a couple good Mahler performances and one really bad Mahler 10th in Vienna, which was a big disappointment on Deutsche Grammophon. He's jumped around labels. He hasn't had a strong affiliation with anybody. He began his career on Virgin Records, which of course became EMI, with terrible performances. I mean, really bad performances of Beethoven overtures and Brahms symphonies. He was almost like a mini Lauren Mazel. In other words, reptilian, cold, metronomic, uninflected, and where he did do things, they didn't make any sense. They were weird. He grew up after that. But the interesting thing, my perspective, at least as far as the discography goes, is that much of his best work, the Isabel Faust Bartók Second Violin Concerto and things like that, they were done with him as an accompanist, not as the main guy, the focus of attention. Of course, like every conductor, he does a Symphonie Fantastique. It wasn't so fantastique. He did a Mahler 4. Ugh, it was terrible. It's very hard to get a sense of his actual strengths and weaknesses. He made a decent studio or live recording of Don Giovanni in France that Bob Levine liked, our opera guy. But then he also made a video of the same opera that Bob Levine didn't like. His Billy Budd with the LSO was sabotaged by awful singers. He had the opera down very well, but like I said, that's not going to make or break it if the singing isn't terrific. I wonder what Los Angeles thought he was getting. I think what Los Angeles thinks they're getting. Pardon me. It's a puzzle. And everybody I've spoken to and everybody I've seen writing about this went, huh? What? But choices like these can be inspirational. They really can. It might be if he settles down and enjoys being in L.A., and L.A.'s a fun city to hang out in. He could come alive and do some great things. The real problem is these days is that we're not going to get a very good sampling of any of these artists at their best, because the industry doesn't exist anymore. He's not going to have a record contract. He'll probably make a bazillion YouTube videos, or LA will find ways to release live performances, and we'll get a cesspool of mediocrity, which is what we usually get now from these people. You just get what happens on your average subscription night performance. And some people will like them and some people won't, but there won't be an opportunity for everybody to go out and vote with their wallets and see if it's really interesting enough to purchase and listen to and comment on and develop a consensus. It's very, very difficult now. And so I suspect that the Los Angeles Philharmonic PR machine will swing into work as soon as he gets there. If it hasn't already, he probably has. I'm just not paying attention. And everybody will be, talking about how fabulous he is. And the audible evidence will be, well, I don't like to predict because you have to listen. You have to give him the opportunity. And I really wish him well, but that is one strange pick. It was really, really peculiar. But like I said, Los Angeles does that. Esa-Pekka Salonen was not an obvious choice either. You may recall he turned out to be fantastic most of the time, but, he was a cerebral modern music guy. And then they got Dudamel, who was just the opposite, a Hollywood glamour boy, sort of, kind of, but a rather dull conductor, actually, at the end of the day. Not very interesting. And so Harding's going to be very different. He's very different from what Dudamel was, and a much cooler character. I'm interested to see what kind of programs he puts together. I'm interested to hear how he gets along with the orchestra, if at all. He's a pilot. He likes to fly things. So, he could pilot this orchestra into, the Blue Empyrean and beyond, total excellence, or he could, vanish into the Bermuda Triangle, which was a hoax, by the way. I just read a very interesting article about that. But, Harding's tenure could also equally be a hoax. We have to wait and see. Isn't that what everybody says? Everybody's got an opinion. We all come in here and we pronounce. And then the answer is, well, we have to find out. Of course we do. Of course we do. But he has always been, interpretively speaking, an enigma. Someone who has managed to avoid showing any particular strengths in any particular repertoire. He's built a career. And so there's a lot of, speculation. And I can't do more than that. I can't. It's a weird one. And that happens sometimes. You just get strange. And strange also kind of suits Los Angeles. It's a strange place, full of strange people doing strange things. And it may be just perfect for Harding. We'll find out soon enough, won't we? So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.